Hey, welcome to week 3, Lunch with Andy. I'm super excited. We got a great episode today. I got my friend Lucien Junkin, who is a wonderful guy. He's been a first mentor for, I think, 25, 26 years. He's down in Houston. He's been the lead mentor on Robonauts FRC 118 for I think all that time. He won a Volunteer of the Year award for FLL, and he is also a championship Woody Flowers Award winner. His title, get this, his title is Space Exploration Vehicle Chief Engineer for NASA at Johnson Space Center. Welcome, Lucien.
Welcome, Andy. Thank you for having me. And I bring you the Space Exploration Vehicle. So
Sweet.
That's where we're going to have lunch today. Let me show you real quick what the vehicle looks like. That is a prototype vehicle for Moon and Mars, where 2 crew members can live inside for up to 14 days and explore the Moon and Mars. Let me show you a little about the SCV. So the SCV has some side hatches where back over my shoulder, we're doing some testing on docking with the modules on the moon. So, okay. And then to do exploration on the ground, we climb into the back of a spacesuit, you can see there, and there'll be 2 spacesuits on this vehicle such that you can do spacewalks on the moon and Mars. So that's a little bit about SCV. I'm going to climb inside and have lunch with you, Andy.
I don't think we've ever had any lunch with Andy ever in a space module or a space exploration vehicle. This is a first for us, obviously.
So this is inside where you climb into the back of the spacesuit, and then you shut off your life support system of your spacesuit. The cabin remains pressurized while you go on your spacewalk. There are 2 beds in here for 2 crew members, and then you have the controls, and you can see out the window where we're doing the docking.
So you guys design and build those in Houston for NASA. You're NASA.
Correct. And this vehicle itself just came out of the desert in North Arizona at Black Point Lava Flow, where we did a partnership with a Japanese space agency where we had their crews come in, drive this rover, and do conceptual operations and the like.
And it has swerve modules on it, is that right?
Yep. Has swerve modules that was inspired by some of the swerve modules that we did on 118, that was inspired by some of the swerve modules that were on 111's robot a few years earlier. So we've been in swerve for a long time.
Hey, let's get to first stuff. You've been doing this a long time. What's your favorite first memory?
I would say I have a lot of first memories, and I would say my favorite first memory is probably, it was right before COVID came. It was in Plano. We were kind of struggling with the robot, and I had both Casey and Billy on the team at the time, and those are my 2 children. Casey she's at UT Austin studying mechanical engineering, and Billy is still on the team as a senior. But we came together, we won that competition, and that's a super lasting memory, because as we know, even when we were there at Plano at that event, that we were hearing about teams not being able to compete that weekend, and then we all know what happened. And so that's maybe not a favorite memory, but certainly right. A fond memory of that. And I have memories like that. I would say all of my favorite and fondest memories are about seeing the students grow and reach their potential, and that expression on their face when they're just like, I get it, and this is really cool.
So what are you having for lunch today? Did you brown bag it?
I've got so when we're in this vehicle in the desert, we use dehydrated food just like we did there. I brought myself some crackers today, and I'm gonna open up some crackers and have some crackers with you.
Briefly, Lucien, what is your opinion you've seen all these games, you've seen them year after year. What's your opinion of this year's game?
I like this year's game a lot. I'm pleased that we continued with the flat field since everybody's kind of being inspired with swerve modules, that is part of the game. I really like the fact that in the middle of the field, there's going to be a lot of defense, and that the scoring areas are really protected, by the charging station. Not only is it a line, after you get around the charging station, you're not going to get bumped or anything. So that makes it pretty cool. But the defense in the middle of the field is really cool.
A big deal that 118 does, I don't know how many years it's been now, but Everybot. Let's talk Everybot. You got a team of staff. You got a team of students that you guys work on this really cool early design, and you release Everybot to the world. And there's like lots and lots of teams that make this design. This isn't even your team's competition robot design, but it's a design that you guys put out there as a gift to the rest of the FIRST community, and I really appreciate it. So tell us more about what started you guys to make the Everybot robot and how it's been successful.
Let me give you a couple special moments in the history of Everybot, and then people will start to understand it, I believe, a little bit better. Back about a decade ago, before that, we had students, and we were doing other programs. We were actually a few years we did bot ball with the students, and so they were kind of on a different schedule, but they were all part of the Robonauts. Then at one point, I remember the conversation pretty well. Lewis and I sat down and we're like, what if, how can we give a student a whole robot experience so in future years, they understand about all of the avionics subsystems and the base and the arm and everything. And we came up with this concept of doing a robot that eventually was called Everybot, but the students could pick that subsystem, the Everybot subsystem, and build it. And then we what if'd, look, if we're going to do this, let's just share it to the world. And so it's not the Robonauts robot. It's not going to show up in the reveal video. Let's just share. So almost immediately, those two came together. It was its own subsystem, and we shared it to the world. But that was on a 6-week schedule where teams would have had to be basically lock in step with us. The documentation was out a little bit. So it wasn't a perfect program. And then Ryan and I were in front of the water jet a few years ago, pre-COVID, and Ryan and I started what ifing. And he and Ethan, the two that y'all know kind of at the core of Everybot these days, they had talked, and we started what if. And I tell you, Ryan's thoughts were the same as mine. What if we did this whole thing in a week and revealed it, and then did all the documentation so teams could have this experience? So that gets new students super involved in the whole robot, of all of the functioning of the robot, software, avionics, the whole package. So that's where it has evolved to. And we love it. We are dedicated to trying to lift the level of everyone. We're just trying to give people an ability to see what the potential is. And the truth is Everybot is only one leg of being competitive. And right. Lewis and I talked about this all the way back at the beginning. So we believe that you have 3 pillars of competition. You have the robot, you have the strategy behind the robot and the strategy at the competition, and then you have the execution of your whole team coming together to do it. So you have those 3 pillars. The pit crew has to execute well. The flight team or the drivers have to execute well. The strategists, the scouters have to execute well. So that is, the execution is a major part of it. With Everybot, you get to have a robot that can compete, and therefore teams can start to understand, hey, I have a robot that is good, and now I need to concentrate on the strategy part of it, yep, and on the execution of it. I hope that explains a little bit about Everybot and the history of Everybot. What do you think about Everybot from a community? Look, you were part of lifting up the community and having them see brighter things with. We've seen so many things over first, but let's see, the kit chassis certainly was a big stride in lifting people up and saying, oh, these are the possibilities for my team. So what do you think about that?
I think it's great. I still remember back pre AndyMark, pre COTS parts, pre kit chassis, 2000, 2001, 2002, the lack of parity between the teams like we were on. You and I were on different teams. We are on high resource teams. I was on a Delphi team. You're on a NASA team, and we would do very well. And we would also show up to events where there'd be teams with kids and a couple parents or a teacher or two that had a robot that did move. And it was very disheartening to see that robot and those kids just get walloped by the teams with the high resources. So the lack of parity was a big gap between the haves and the have-nots. And I think what you're doing is a huge impact for teams who don't have high resources, who don't know how to build a robot, design a robot, but they have some school support, they have some parents, they have teachers, and building the Everybot, really it's for a team that doesn't know what they're doing the first year, but they have ambition. I think it'd be a great thing for them to do is build the Everybot, learn a whole bunch from building that Everybot the first year, maybe even improve it along their way. And then second year, third year, they're doing more of their own thing, but at least they're learning a lot of really good sound design theory and how-tos during that first year. So I think it makes an experience for the new teams really good. Or there's also those teams who aren't a new rookie team, but they've had turnover on their team, so they kind of act like a new team. So maybe it might be a veteran team who has lost all their mentors because COVID or whatever, and they're seniors. This is their first year or second year, so they have to kind of relearn some things. So Everybot could be huge for them too.
Yeah, it helps. It definitely helps to sustain teams that have that break like you do. You remind me, thinking and reminiscing about the old days of the motors that we used to have. You know how hard it was to cut a keyway into a shaft at a shop in a school? It was almost impossible. So
we used to drill. Okay, so I would have a gear on a shaft, and I'd be drilling through that gear with a shaft in order to put like a screw all the way through it. Yeah. And if I was unlucky, I would break the drill. I've done this. I break the drill into the shaft, but
and call it a day.
It's pinned.
It just stopped.
It's done. It's stuck. It's not coming off, but it's stuck.
There's been great evolution ever since we were integrating Fisher Price big wheels motors and taking apart. I think they were Bosch drills that we were pulling the motors out of. Literally, you got in the kit just a drill in the kit, and you had to use the motor out of that. So it was challenging times. That I think that just like no one misses the slide rule, I don't think that our evolution in first, that we're all kind of standing on the shoulders of those who came before. And I'll throw Woody out there. I mean, Woody was a pioneer in this field. If you look at his first kind of competitions, he certainly lifted up and did that. So I think we try to model that with Everybot.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's commendable to you and your team, the resources you guys assigned to make sure Everybot gets out there. It's wonderful for all those kids on those teams. Mary and I, this past summer, Mary and I went to Brazil for a big off-season event they had, and I sent you pictures. There are like 4 or 5 Everybots in Brazil as pre-rookie teams playing this summer. The last FRC game. It was fabulous. So that was pretty cool to see. Your Everybot has traveled the world, I'm sure.
Thanks for the nice words.
You're a busy guy. You got lots going on. What keeps you involved? What keeps you coming back every year to be in first? What keeps you around?
Oh, that is such a simple question. I think it's all the way back before I was in first. It is those students reaching their goals and seeing their eyes light up. And now that I've been in it for a quarter of a century, that they're coming back and their dreams are coming true. And they're like, wow, it all started back in at robotics. So that's with my personal hat on. That is with my parents and my coaches ingraining service in me. And I would like to believe that we're like with Everybot, that we're service oriented. So I love that. That's what really, really charges me up.
Well, there's so much you said that was really defined success in FIRST. And people see and watch Robonauts over the years, 118 do really well in the field. But to me, success in FIRST is how the students are impacted, how your program is diverse, how you got all FIRST programs in your school. And really then the icing on the cake is how well you do at the events. The kids and the impact on the kids is really the true success. So good job to you guys.
What are your favorite memories of FIRST?
I think like you, I think I know why, but like you, I think seeing kids grow into really responsible young adults, and also seeing that light turn on. But most importantly for me, because I'm emotionally attached, and I mean my kids, all three of my daughters grew up within the FIRST program, and they all had a wonderful experience. They all had tremendous role models and mentors along the way, and I think they're very self-aware and empowered and independent young women. And I think one of the biggest reasons is the FIRST program. So seeing their success in FIRST has really been important to me and my wife Mary, and we're both very proud of all those three girls. I mean, and it was hard mentoring teams with their kids on it, because you really there's a lot of different things you got to kind of play a different role sometimes as a mentor, because it's your kid. But we went through those things, and now they're all out of high school, so it's kind of nice to see them grow up as young ladies.
You got to be easier on them sometimes and harder on them sometimes. It is interesting. Then you go home to them, and that was interesting for me too. I think it worked out well for us.
Thanks, Lucien, so much for your time. Thanks you all for watching. Next week we have Philippe from 1156 in Brazil. So we're going to be joined by a guy in Brazil for next week. Lucien, I tell you, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy, for having me, and good luck to everybody out there this season, and we'll see y'all at competitions.
Yep. Have fun. Be safe. We'll see you out at competitions.